Friends, in this lesson, we can let our imagination run wild. We will be arranging the furniture. But first, we'll think through what zones will be in our space. Then I'll draw the furniture to scale, any kind you want. Today, we are going to arrange the furniture together. We'll be doing this with scale in mind. This means that our furniture should correspond to the size of our room. It shouldn't be too small or too large. This is what it means to maintain scale. If you remember, we have a scaled grid where each square corresponds to 1 square is 1 meter. And let's also draw as a kind of reminder for ourselves that one side of this square is 2 centimeters, which equals 1 meter or 100 centimeters. So 1 meter is 100 centimeters. And look, if we measured the dimensions in millimeters during our measurements, then we'll measure the furniture in centimeters. So 1 meter for us will be 100 centimeters. Half of this segment, which is exactly 1 centimeter in length, will be half of 100, that is 50 centimeters for this particular segment. And half of 50 is 25 centimeters. This is just for reference. If our furniture is 60 centimeters, we'll take a little more than 50. If the width of our furniture is 40 centimeters, we'll take a little less than 50 centimeters. And so, for reference, all these measurements are given. Now you know how to use a ruler and how to work by hand. The choice is yours. We will rely on our plan of the existing situation. But since we're creating a design project, we need to provide a project proposal. That means our furniture arrangement may change. And thank you. We'll also talk about zoning. What is zoning? The meaning is already embedded in the word itself. Zoning comes from the word zone. Dining area, entryway area, bathroom area, bedroom area, workspace, relaxation area. See how many zones there can be? And these zones can be distinguished, for example, by the type of flooring. Different zones can have different types of flooring. It could be parquet, it could be tile. Additional partitions may appear, which will partially separate one zone from another. It all depends on the space you are working with. In other words, we rely on the existing situation, but we can offer a completely different arrangement of the furniture. Now I'll show you what graphic options for depicting furniture can look like, so you understand that the same sofa, bed, or table can be either wider or narrower. Let me start with the kitchen equipment. The kitchen is located here, and now I am going to draw the kitchen equipment. This is what gets installed and then doesn't get moved anymore. Because we can move the sofa and the table, but usually all the plumbing in the bathroom and kitchen, like the sink, refrigerator, and stove, doesn't get moved. And we assume that the width of this row of equipment is 60 centimeters. Well, that's the standard. And accordingly, I can already take a ruler, and I know that 1 centimeter equals half a meter for me. Look over here. And 60 centimeters will be a little more. So I just add a little more like this, and I draw a line. See how I use the ruler? You can also do all this by eye. My dears, the choice is yours here. Don't torture yourselves too much. Some people like to use a ruler. Some like to draw by hand, and I like to combine both. Sometimes I draw by hand, and sometimes I use a ruler. And we need to find the placement for the refrigerator. I'm going to have a refrigerator here. And there are certain symbols for that. You draw a snowflake like this. That way, it's immediately clear that it's a refrigerator. Now I'm going to draw the sink. You can arrange things your own way. Some people might have a corner solution. Next to the sink, I'll have a dishwasher. It's marked with the letters DM, dishwasher. Then I'll have the stove, if that's all right with you. and the countertop for food preparation. Now let's move to the bathroom and toilet. Let's see how to best arrange the minimum set of fixtures. What do we need to have? There should be a bathtub or a shower cabin, a sink, and a toilet. Let's assume the bathtub is 70 centimeters wide. And we remember that if 50 centimeters is marked as half a square, that is as 1 centimeter, then 70 centimeters will be a little more. And I'll sketch out here, since I have a sink right here, I'll draw a countertop directly under the sink, so it's convenient to put all sorts of small items needed for washing up, such as soap or sponges. The shape of the sink can also vary. Bathtubs can also be corner-shaped. By the way, this doesn't always depend on what you want. It's often dictated by the layout. If there's very little space, then a bathtub like this might not even fit. And here I'll place the toilet, which actually takes up quite a lot of space. In terms of size, that's about 85 centimeters. It will take up almost a centimeter on my drawing. First, we draw a simple shape to determine the location and size. And then we can give it the configuration you want. But at first, we always use simple shapes. Now you can round it off. We've now outlined the stationary items that are connected to the utilities. Every bathroom has a ventilation shaft, which is usually located next to the kitchen and the bathroom. I'll turn this part into a closet because logically, when you come in, you need somewhere to put your clothes. And all the time now, as we start working on the layout, you should always be thinking this way. So you walk in. What happens next? You come in, and most likely you'll want to put your bag down somewhere. And look, right here is a perfect spot, so I'll place a bench here. Here's the bench. It's a small round stool. So here I'll have a bench where you can sit to put on your shoes or set down your bag. I'll turn this part into a closet. I'll put doors here, but not swinging ones, sliding doors. They're indicated like this. One panel and another panel, like this, overlapping. And inside, I'll sketch hangers to show that this is where the wardrobe will be, making it clear that this area is intended for hanging clothes and organizing garments within the room. Of course, you don't need to draw the hangers with a ruler, right? We can just draw them by hand. Here in the hallway, I'll put a mirror. You can also draw it by hand without using a ruler. In other words, we trust our hand and let it do the work more often. This will be the mirror. And here I'll also add a small bench. And then I'll make a few small changes. So if I had this kind of layout before, now I want to do this area a little differently. I want to put a bar counter here. Extend the sofa. You'll see in a moment. That is, we can make some changes to improve our space. Again, we start by drawing a simple shape. The length and width of the bar counter can also vary. Just go by your own space. I draw a simple shape and then I want to round off one corner. For this counter, because when I choose the shape of the furniture, I also consider how people will move around, and I try to minimize the number of corners so you don't have to walk around them unnecessarily. And on this side, I'll draw a sofa. And remember, when we draw furniture, we draw it a little bit away from the wall. How does this work in real life? There's always a small gap. My sofa will be 1 meter wide. That means I take 2 centimeters in our case. Sometimes you can put the ruler aside and draw freehand. I'm drawing the backrest and armrest of my sofa. Again, we don't place it right up against the wall, but draw it at some distance from it. And to make it convenient to approach the bed, I leave space on both sides and place nightstands. The width of the bed can vary. It can be 1.60 meters, 1.80 meters, or even 2 meters. It all depends on whether it's a single or double bed. And of course, how much space there is. Does the space here allow for a wide bed? When we design with you, we focus both on your preferences and desires, and on the possibilities of our space, whether the dimensions allow for it. And here I'll also add on, extend it a bit more. You see, here I have a wardrobe. And here it will come out a bit. But we also need to think about making it comfortable to walk around. When we arrange furniture, we need to understand that a person often needs 70 centimeters, or better yet, a meter, to be able to turn around comfortably. Or at least 70 centimeters. So here I need to not place it too close to the bed, otherwise it will be uncomfortable to walk around. Moreover, I want to round off this corner because in areas where there is movement, it's better to avoid sharp corners. To make it clear that we have a bed here, let's use architectural graphics and draw the bed. For example, to make it easier for me to draw the pillows and the blanket, I can now, in this particular case, carefully turn the sheet like this and draw the details. I'll go ahead and draw 2 soft, comfortable pillows, each with distinct, defined corners, just like this. You can draw some folds. Like this, you see, you can immediately see some creases, and of course now I'll draw the blanket. And here, at the corners, when the blanket is lying down, of course the corners don't turn out so sharp. They end up a bit rounded. I can even draw lamps like night lights on the bedside tables. And of course, to make it clear that this is also a wardrobe and not just some flat surface of a table, I'll sketch some hangers here. Well, all that's left for us to draw is the table. And, a round table shape would actually fit in here best. And look, I'll show you how I can draw a circle now without using a compass. So for example, I can first roughly mark with my hand where I want to place it. And of course, I'll make sure there's enough space to walk freely, especially to the refrigerator, which is probably how should I put this? The most beloved item in the apartment. And also to the balcony, so it's convenient to walk through. That's why we're also looking for the right location. That's the job of a designer, to find the place, size, and shape of the objects. That's exactly what the work of an interior designer is all about. So I've decided that I'm going to put a table in this spot. That's it. And I'll add some chairs as well. I'll push them in. Partially tuck them under the tabletop. Just like that, done. And now I can draw the backs or armrests. Basically, whatever chair design you find more interesting. You can even draw something on the table if you want. So, well, my dears, I think we've successfully brought everything together as a unified whole. And in the next lesson, we'll start carefully zoning our space using a variety of flooring options, outline everything, and add color to our plan.